Thank you very much. My name's Susie Drew. I know the names show it the other way around. I'm Susie Drew, and this is my colleague Sharon Pickford, and we're from Strode College. We're here and very pleased to be able to be sponsors today of the online sector focus for IT. So I'm going to start off talking about T-levels, and then moving on to the next stage, which is apprenticeships, and then a brief bit on cybersecurity from an employer's point of view. So that's the agenda of our slides. Can I have the next slide, please?
It's just loading, sorry to be a pain.
No worries.
There we go.
Thank you very much. So we started doing the digital T-levels in 2020. So we're one of the pilot colleges that originally did industry placements, and we started our T-levels at the beginning in the launch. And we started off with digital production, design and development. Like every business, we've had our challenges, and I'm not going to, harp on the challenges because we've all faced them in all different respects because of COVID. But I think the key thing that we're finding is the positives, that the virtual learning is still being out there, and the internal communication has been absolutely brilliant between employers saying, yes, we do want to move forward and we do want to work with the colleges. We're just obviously stuck with a few things due to COVID. If we can move on to the next slide, please. And as you can see, in 2021, 2022, we have added 2 more T-levels to our programme. So it was digital production, design and development. We're carrying on with that one, and added digital business services and digital support and services. So basically one's data management and the other one is around the infrastructure. And this allows us to develop more. And one of the other things that we will be developing, as I've got in my last slide, is cybersecurity. We've still got the same challenges, as obviously COVID hasn't disappeared in the next year, unfortunately. But what we are finding is students are actually now self-sourcing, and they're actually self-sourcing their placements. So they're being proactive in trying to engage with employers. And we are doing the best that we can to encourage them to keep self-sourcing their placements and to work with employers like yourselves. Thank you. Next slide. So the benefits to an employer, because a lot of employers are saying, what is a T-level? So a T-level is effectively the reverse of an apprenticeship. So you're looking at a model where they have 80% in the classroom and 20% on the job. So if you look at a 5-day week, they'll be sitting there doing their college work for 4 days, and say, for example, the Friday, they would actually be at a work placement. And it kind of brings a complete circle to the T-level apprenticeship model, which Sharon will go on to in a second. So as you can see, the benefits to employers are the new fresh ideas, improving the mentoring skills, extra help with projects, and an absolute cost-effective route for recruitment. You get them in early, and then you can progress with them all the way through from T-level to apprenticeships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Sharon Pickford. As Susie introduced me, I'm the Work-Based Learning Manager. So I'm responsible for the delivery of apprenticeship programmes. And as Susie just explained the T-levels, the apprenticeships are the exact reverse. So the apprentice would be an employee of any organisation who's able to provide them with that opportunity, and they would spend 80% of their time in the workplace on the job training and 20% off the job. Please forgive us, these are not our terms, these are the terms the government use. So on the job would be learning alongside mentors and peers, and the off the job would be set aside time for training and development, which would be provided jointly by yourselves as the employer and Strode College as the training provider. So the benefits of apprenticeship programmes, first and foremost, is to make the most of government funding. Government are providing funding through the apprenticeship service accounts to all small to medium enterprises, and there is a very small co-investment payment for anyone taking on an apprentice who is over 19 years old, but 16 to 18-year apprentices with small to medium enterprises is 100% funded. It can save on the costs of recruitment by allowing you to train and develop alongside the apprenticeship programme and bring in the skills and train the skills that you need. We have found that it's improved the service of a lot of our employers, and it also supports employees to develop their skills and knowledge that are directly relevant to their jobs and the industry. You can always also use apprenticeships to upskill existing staff, which provides motivation for your employees, and it also allows you to develop your own high caliber staff and secure the best new talent, because I'm sure you're aware, you know, I find that a lot of our apprentices know an awful lot more than I do now, and they've been, you know, we've now got the generation that have grown up with devices in their hands and know all the different social medias. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is the apprenticeships that we currently are offering or are close to being able to offer. So IT solutions technician and information communication technician, they are at level 3, and they are about supporting the infrastructure and IT infrastructure within an organisation. So the apprentice would learn all of the relevant skills, knowledge and behaviours for those positions and those posts, and more information can be provided, but I didn't want to bore you with death by PowerPoint today, but if you've got any interest, then please let me know and I can give you far more. But this is the help desk, IT support and infrastructure start of the programme. Then we've got the digital marketer at level 3. So it says exactly what it says on the tin, really. It starts about the principles of marketing, but it also then goes into coding and website, digital and social medias, and marketing through that digital resource. A new one that we are developing and we are almost there with is smart home technician. So that's looking at engineers to set up smart homes. That's AV, tele, and all other sources of smart home technology, as we know, is becoming more and more the norm nowadays. And then network engineer is a level 4 apprentice for people who want to progress up into the IT industry even further. Okay, that's me, and I'll pass you back to Susie.
So lovely. So this is a brief thing of cybersecurity and further education. So Strode College are an on-premise and cloud-hosted digital way of working. The college is moving more and more to cloud to mitigate the risk of things like ransomware and malware. And this means primarily that our data and our systems are secure and not compromised and managed in such a way that the data is accessible only to people who are authorised. And part of that is obviously including training for staff, induction and continually ongoing. As you've probably seen in the last year, Colchester College and Bridgewater College have been attacked this year and are still in recovery from those attacks. So Strode are pleased that we have a world-class technology, and we even have air-gapped computers. And if you can just quickly click, please, you'll see what an air-gapped computer looks like. If you can do a click on the slide, please. And there we go. There's Ethan from Mission Impossible with his air-gapped computer. And that is what an air-gapped computer is. It is not attached to a building. It is out in the ether. And Ethan is showing us how it's done. And that kind of wraps it up from Strode College. And thank you very much for listening to us. Our contact details, we've put down the generic contact number and we're both contactable on there. So I'm Susie Drew, Business Development Manager, and Sharon Pickford,
Work-based learning manager.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both, that's wonderful. I think I could do with a smart home technician at my place. Can I get one for my family? Because that'd be amazing. Without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Jake Moore.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Just going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can all see it. Okay, I'm Jake Moore and I work for ESET, which is an antivirus and internet security company. And we actually partner with our local Chamber of Commerce in Dorset. So I'm not too far away from you all, and I work closely with them. So I do this kind of thing with them actually. And my past before I started with ESET was in Dorset Police. I spent 14 years investigating computer crime. So I've seen every type of digital offence that is possible. And it was an incredible time investigating all sorts of things from murder to fraud to missing people. And I really got into computers that way to find what criminals are up to. But what I do now is I help businesses protect themselves from cybercrime. I was part of the cybercrime team when it started up in the police quite a few years ago, and it's just excelled massively. As you know, it's incredibly big now, and it's scaring so many companies. One way I find I can help people understand the real risks is to actually go and do one of these little tests myself. They're called penetration tests. When you go and break into a company, it's a fun way of being able to highlight where people's weaknesses are without them being completely screwed over and losing lots of money. Now, this original talk, it used to be called Hacked In via LinkedIn, but last year I got told off by LinkedIn themselves. They actually said to me, I'm sorry, you can't go and use that. It makes us look like we are vulnerable ourselves, which they aren't. It's just the vehicle I used. Anyway, without further ado, I will jump straight in. So it starts off with this. Well, one of my favorite questions people say to me is, why would anyone hack me? Now, I still get people saying this, but this talk is actually 2 years old now. But people still say to me, no, they're not going to go for me. And especially small companies, they love to think that they're not going to get hit. But of course, we know that's not the case. They like going for the smaller companies because they might not have incredibly big IT departments. They might think they're more vulnerable and easier to attack. And then I say that to people and they come back and they say, well, I don't click on dodgy links. But I say, you don't really know they're dodgy until too late, maybe once you've clicked on it. And then my favorite question after that is, or statement, in fact, and I had this a couple of years ago, is when someone says to me, well, I bet you couldn't hack me. Well, that's like throwing a red flag at me. And I usually reply with, oh, really? Okay, that sounds like a bit of fun. How about we play a little game? And I've got this game set up on my laptop if anyone ever asks me this. Now, previously, I've downloaded 2.1 billion usernames and passwords that have been compromised. So whenever LinkedIn has been compromised, Facebook, you name it, BT, British Airways, all these massive companies that have been breached, and you find out that your password may be compromised and you should change it, well, you can go and find on the dark web all of these usernames and passwords. So I wanted to go and download them and keep a copy of these to highlight to people how easy it is. Now, this one girl in my office at the time, a couple of years ago, said, okay, then fine, you can hack me if you want. I said, great, just sign this piece of paper, please. And what's your email address? And she gave me her email address, which is alexis_jade@live.com. I said, great, give me 1 minute. And she said, well, what on earth are you doing? I said, just wait there. So I went to my laptop and I typed in her email address. In fact, this is what it looks like when you type in Alexis Jade. Loads and loads of emails and passwords in clear text. Okay. And if you look closely, just there, underlined, you've got her username and her password, and her password is her actual name. I said this to her and she said, oh yeah, okay, maybe I should go and change that. I said, yes, not only is that a terrible password, but yes, it's been compromised, which means anyone can go and jump into that account where you're using it. Now, this is pretty incredible to think that anyone's doing this, but yes, lots of people are still using poor passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. We hear about this all the time, but people tend not to change them. But it got me thinking, if her email address hadn't been on this database that I've got, and of course lots aren't on there, or it might be out of date, I wondered how would I have been able to hack her? And I've done this in the past. I thought, a phishing email is always a good way of luring people away. You may have seen them. You've got these emails that say they come from Microsoft 365 and they say, oh, just type in your username and password here, and then you can get into your database. But of course, what you're doing is you're giving away your password. Now, I've done that and that works. But I thought, no, you know what? People are too good at seeing these days. The Nigerian prince, all that rubbish, that's out of date. So I thought, I wonder if I could use LinkedIn. Now, I love LinkedIn. And I'm a big fan of it. And lots of people do use it. In fact, I've got some stats for you. I love some stats. 40% of daily users, so 40% of people are using it every single day. There are over, well, I think it's over 600 million users now. That's a huge amount of people. And in fact, the in-mail, so the email system within LinkedIn is 3 times more responsive than normal email. So that means if you get an email from the Nigerian prince, you're going to forget about it and just ignore it. But if you get it from him on LinkedIn, there's a good chance you might say, oh, I'm ever so sorry. I don't fancy your services today, but good luck finding someone who wants to give you lots of money. It's because we're British and we're very polite. There's a good chance we might go and respond to them. So I thought, you know what, this is a great way of using the platform that is just given to me to go and create this a phishing email platform. So instead of using my own LinkedIn platform, my LinkedIn profile, because I don't want to start with my one, people might report it, for example, I thought I'd create a brand new one. But I'm going to need a name, I'm going to need a face. Now, I didn't want to go and use a face that is already someone's. You can go to a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com, and you can just click through loads of artificially intelligent created faces. So I wanted to choose a rather pretty face. I thought that would be a very good way of getting lots of people to follow. So here's the girl that I chose. This girl does not exist. She's completely false, just generated from using some pretty good software. And the reason why I chose a pretty face was because, as you can probably guess, lots of guys like to connect with pretty girls on LinkedIn. So I got loads and loads of likes and followers. And before you knew it, I actually had more people following me on LinkedIn on my fake account than I did on my real account. And then I started, this is actually not part of the experiment. I didn't expect this, although looking back, what was I thinking? I started to get lots of people going, hey, how are you doing? And I was starting to get chatted up by these guys on LinkedIn. I thought, this could be quite funny. And I thought, well, if I carry on, I'm going to get some different type of pics, okay? We don't want that. That is not what this experiment's all about. So if anyone contacted me, I still get people, well, I've killed the account now, but I was still getting them last year. Lots of people just go, hey, how you doing? But yeah, I didn't want to respond to them. Anyway, that's a different story altogether. So I kept this LinkedIn account just sitting in the background for about a month or so. And then suddenly something came up where I thought, I know how I can go and use this and test my experiment. Now, there's a guy who owns a digital marketing agency here in Bournemouth. He's a good guy, and he probably has about 20 employees, okay? And he invited me to this thing called the Digital Debate. And he wanted me to go and fight my corner about privacy. It's a bit of a boring subject, of course, talking about privacy and GDPR. Jesus, seriously boring stuff. But he wanted us to try and bring it to life. And I said, you know what? I've got a great idea. I think if I hack you, then maybe we've got a story and maybe we've got a debate. And he goes, I bet you can't hack me. Yes, I wanted him to say that. And I went, of course, oh, really? Okay, you give me 3 weeks and we'll see what happens. And he said, go for your life. There's no chance you can get me, Jake. I've heard about your antics. There's no chance. And I went in this very strange, I don't know why I said it at the moment, but in this cocky way, I said, I bet I can even get your shoe size. I still don't know why I said that. I think I was just being a bit too over the top. And he said, fine. So he walks off and I walk off. I'll get him to sign this piece of paper, by the way, to say I can go and hack him. Always very key. Coming from the police, I've always got to have that. It's my get out of jail free card. So as I then walked away thinking, what have I done? I've got 3 weeks to try and get this guy. Boom, I've got my LinkedIn account, the fake one. That's going to work. So I started, so I went to go and add him from the fake account. And then I thought, no, of course, if you've just told someone you're going to hack them, they're basically going to close their laptop for the next few weeks and not touch anything. They're going to be expecting it. So I thought, yeah, of course, I can't do that. And then it came to me, this genius idea. I thought I would go and target his PA. Now, he has a lovely PA who still hasn't forgiven me for what I'm about to tell you. And I thought, if I add her, maybe I can use her as a bit of a puppet to try and get to him. He won't be expecting that. So I came up with this crazy story, and here it is. So remember, influence is key in any email, whether it comes on LinkedIn, whether it comes in a phishing email, a targeted email. They're the worst ones when it really does come from someone that you even normally work with. You've probably seen those emails saying, oh, we've changed our bank details. And you think, wow, that actually is the person. But the influence is there, but you shouldn't be touching it, obviously. So I came up with this idea that this girl, let's call her Jessica. So Jessica has a background in ITV and wants to be a cybersecurity journalist. And she's looking for really cool marketing agencies in Bournemouth. And so I came up with this message and it said, hi, I work for ITV and our production team are planning a program, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I want you to come on our TV. Please reply ASAP. Classic in any phishing email. The influence there is you better respond because I know you want this, but if you don't do it urgently, then we'll go to someone else. I look forward to hearing from you. And it's also got scarcity. You know, how many times are you going to be on TV? She replies instantly, pretty much saying, oh my gosh, we'd love to. Here's a link to an event that's coming up again this year. Why don't we do it there? She's even helping me out. I said, yeah, this sounds absolutely perfect. Now I then go back to her. This is hilarious. I read on their website that this PA comes from Market Harborough. I still don't even know where that is in the country, by the way. And I said, oh, did I just read on your website that you grew up in Market Harborough? My dad's partner is from there, #small world. Now, what I've done there is just said to her, like you would on holiday, if you find out that someone lives relatively near to you, you end up being friends because you're like, oh my God, you live in Southampton. Well, I'm on the South Coast as well. We can be friends. It's something weird about that. So by saying that in an email, she goes, oh my gosh, yes, that's amazing. I went to school there, went to Bournemouth, blah, blah, blah. You know, what I've done there is, as you can see at the bottom, I'm giving her liking. I'm liking her. I'm liking her background. Now, the website that they've got has got loads of information on each of the people in the company because it's got an About Us page, which is a really dangerous thing to have on a company because it's just giving information. It even said what books she was into, all of these things. I could have found out on Facebook, for example. Facebook is where people go and like everything they're into, obviously. But there are so many of these places on the internet where you can find information out. Map My Run is another one where you can find out where people live because they run from their house to their work or around where they work and around where they live. They start and finish at all these places. There's so much information I could have used on this person. But what I'm trying to do, remember, is to get her to go and give something to the boss, make him do something. I'm trying to manipulate her. So I finally dropped it in and I said, hi, I'm really keen for your boss to fill in this form before we come and film you for ITV. Please, can he go and click on this link? Now, I imagine at that moment, I've made her burst into the boss's office and say, you will never believe this. We're going to be on TV. Now, looking back, of course, what he did was he forgot everything about his cyber awareness training that he'd ever had. He forgot that I was trying to get into him. He was just thinking, guys, we're going to be famous. This is amazing. Right. Okay, what have I got to do? You've just got to fill in this Google form. Well, how bad can that be? It's just a Google form. I've heard of Google. It's not itv.com. It's not a fake site. I'm using Google's forms, which are, well, here we go. Actually, I'll show you what they look like. They, especially if you want to be on TV, it's so easy to go and do this. I've even tried this since. It still works. If you ever see a Google form, just beware. Anyone can be making you give so much information away. So here it is. It's very simple to go and make a form look like it's from ITV. I went on Google Images, I typed in ITV, I got the picture, I threw it at the top, and hey, there it is. It looks like it's a genuine form. I love that. And some numbers at the top, 4.1.2. Who doesn't like a couple of numbers at the end of of a form. It just looks like it's more authentic. And there it is from Jessica, March 2019. I've asked for his name, his home address, his phone number, his date of birth, his email. I thought, right, if I've asked all that and he started filling it all out, he's probably going to answer a few more things. And if you remember what I asked for earlier, well, here you go. I asked for his shoe size because, of course, we're being sponsored by Clarks Footwear. Now, this is the moment I thought he probably will guess this, but he didn't. He filled it out. He told me his shoe size because he didn't care about Clarks being the sponsor. You know, the PP that you see in TV, it says product placement. Well, of course, yeah, whatever. I'm going to be famous. And then I thought, well, why not go all out and ask for his inside leg measurement if he's done that, which we're being sponsored by Isaacs Smith Clothing. Now, you've never heard of them. That's because Isaacs Smith's is an anagram of "this is a scam." That was just for me to have some fun. I just thought it would be a bit silly. Maybe later on I could bring it up and really make him feel like a complete idiot. And then I asked him to fill out his password. I love this. I said, fill out your password to set up an account with itv.com. Of course, he shouldn't have gone and done that, but there I was. I'd thrown out this hook. I've said, right, give me all your information. He's filled it out completely. At the very last thing, he's got to make up a password. He goes and types in a password. And I'm looking at this password thinking, that's not a random one. There's no way that he's just come up with something random from his password generator, which he should do. He's got to use something quite personal to him. So with all my information, I've got it. I know everything about him, well, his inside leg measurement, his shoe size. I even got one of his passwords. Maybe it's his only password. I didn't want to go into his emails and his Facebook account, his LinkedIn account. I felt a bit sad at this moment. I felt like I'd done enough damage. So I waited a couple of weeks until that event. And there we were. I got up on stage and I was talking to all of his peers. This was a networking event for him. So I started telling him about how it's really important to keep your private information private. You should not be throwing it on your website. And if you do, just be aware that people might use that to abuse you or at least exploit you because they know information that you think, how would they know about that? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we put it all out there. It's just don't then go and put it in your passwords. And I then say to him, it's funny because I was asked the other day if I could try and hack into Andy's email or Facebook or anything. Is there anything I could possibly do? He even asked me if I could find out his shoe size. He's sitting there looking smug. Okay. He looks like there's no chance I've done it because he doesn't even remember it. And then I started telling him about this story about ITV and how I'd made up this completely fictitious profile and how unfortunately they're not going to be on telly. But in the meantime, he's given away his password, which was to do with his favorite football team, Tottenham Hotspur, and then a number at the end, 84. Well, of course, he was born in 1984. I could have probably guessed it because I found that information on his Facebook. I then tell everyone that that's his password. And this is how he looked as he slumped into his chair and grunted a few words that I won't repeat now. But that wasn't the saddest bit. In fact, when all the laughter had died down and he was there thinking, okay, you've made your point, Jake. Thanks very much. Maybe I shouldn't be sucked into this. I heard this voice at the back and it was his PA, just sat there and it was a bit of a whimper. And she just said, oh my God, I told my mum I was going to be on TV. And that was the moment I really felt a little bit bad. Well, she's got over it now. But hey, it just goes to show that however well you're trained in security, it's so simple to be just tripped up in the heat of the moment and you just divulge it. Maybe you're being told you're going to get some money or it's not too good to be true because it's a little bit of money or whatever it is, you're going to be famous. This is where people fall over. And that's why it's so important. Not only that, never ever use your football team or your kid's name in your password. Because if I'd worked that out, I wouldn't have to have done this. I could have just guessed his password and probably got into many of his accounts. And so what the moral of the story is this is social engineering. It works an absolute treat. And so the best way to react against this and to stop this is to be just aware that it happens. You know, when you get that phone call, it might not actually be the bank. And the text message, the same thing. But you can add to this by making sure you get a password manager, They manage all of your passwords to be unique, so they're all different. So if I'd got into one account, I can't then get into all the others. And then, of course, use two-factor authentication on absolutely everything. If you have a social media account, please go and turn on two-factor authentication. If not, I can show you how I can take over your account. I've got a blog coming out on Thursday that if you haven't got two-factor authentication on, I can show you very, very easily how I can completely take control of any of your social media. This is the one way I like to prove to people how weak their actual accounts are, and especially if you're running a business via social media, those accounts absolutely, and anyone who's updating and being able to edit those accounts must have two-factor authentication on. Okay, so that's a quick talk that I've got for you today. If you have any questions, just turn your mic on, throw it out, and hopefully I'll be able to help you. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you ever so much. If you haven't got really, really noisy background, can we, if I kind of Jake's advice, and please do unmute yourself. And then who has the first question, please? Is everyone just scared and stunned into silence from what they've heard today?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, absolutely scary stuff. Anyone with any questions there at all?
Yeah, I'm just going to go and change all my passwords very quickly.
Good.
That's what I'm doing.
If you've got a dog's name or a kid's name or a number that you think only you know that's in there, it would take me about 5 or 6 minutes to get into any of your accounts.
I haven't got that, and they're not all the same, but I'm still going to change them just for the sake of it. And I'm not going to say you won't be able to, because I know you would. So change it all.
Scary stuff. Simon, did you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, great presentation, Jake. Thanks. Yeah, that scares the life out of me. I'm going to go and do the same, turn on the two-factor authentication on everything and change every password going. I'm sure there'll be some accounts I'll probably forget. Yeah, I've nearly kind of fallen foul of myself of kind of some of these sort of phishing attacks and kind of nearly clicked on links, etc. Thankfully, I stopped just before kind of doing it. But it's quite amazing how they can be kind of so well engineered that you just don't sort of realise that that's kind of what's going on. What's your thoughts on? What's your kind of thoughts on? Big fan of ESET, and I know you guys do a lot of the kind of the antivirus and internet security products for kind of PC, laptops, phones, mobile devices, etc. But what's your thought on sort of AV? The ladies from Stowe College kind of mentioned about kind of trying to move more and more to the cloud, etc. But there's still lots of devices that are left on premises, like the copiers and printers, for example. Now, as a company, we've started to kind of recommend antivirus embedded into the copiers themselves, because they're running a lightweight version of Linux now. What's your thoughts on that? Are kind of companies kind of perhaps overlooking that sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. So any device that's connected to the office or even the home these days, because we're working at home, it seems at least one day a week, are vulnerable. And so when criminals are looking to jump into companies, they're always looking for the most simple way of getting in, and the weakest link is often a printer. I was only reading about another printer problem last week, and it was the way of getting in to throw ransomware all around the whole network. So the one thing that people forget about these devices is the updating. So we tend to update our Windows machines and our phones all the time, and people think they're a bit of a bugbear, and it's a bit of a shame that we've got to go and restart and update, which of course we should be doing, but no one wants to do it on the printers, and they desperately need these updates all the time. So it's always a good idea to have someone who just keeps on top of them. And when they say they've got an update, it's usually for a big or a good reason. And procrastination is just one of those things that we're all part of, and we want to just put it off and, we'll do that next week, and then we forget about it. And that can be the simplest way that an attacker can get in. So it's horses for courses, whether it be on premise or in the cloud, depending on how your business works. But as long as everything's up to date and everything's got protection such as antivirus, and then each device is encrypted, then it's a good way of getting in. But attackers are still using two-factor authentication bypasses to get through, such as phishing emails. So whether you've got antivirus or not, they're still going to try and get through to your machines with that social engineering human factor way. They might be doing the old phone call saying they are from whoever, and as soon as you slip up, then they're in, regardless of what security you've got there. It amazes me how many businesses we go and visit. as a salesman. I'm not going to make any bones about it. Where I can walk up to a machine and type in the default password for say a Ricoh or a Kaiser or a Mitre, and I'm onto their full admin panel for their machine. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we've been changing passwords for the machines that sort of leave us for the last sort of 12 years or so. So it's just simple things like that, that I think sort of companies need to be aware of to kind of try and keep themselves more secure.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that, Jay. That's brilliant. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, anybody? Hayley, I think you've got a question.
I do, yeah. I will also be changing all of my passwords now. Definitely well overdue. One thing I wanted to ask was, which password manager would you recommend? I know that we use LastPass, for example.
Great.
But I know, for example, on my Mac, it will save all of my passwords whenever I type one in. How secure is that?
Yeah, so password managers are just amazing. I can't recommend them enough. I do actually like LastPass quite a lot. I have no affiliation with them. And for the normal user, it's free to go and use that. Where it's difficult if your laptop is saving those passwords, it will save it on your machine, which is great. And that is actually safe as long as it's encrypted. So if your laptop was stolen, they couldn't just open it up and just go and see the dots and just get into your accounts. We don't want that. So it must be encrypted if it gets stolen. But then you're going to need a password manager that is on both laptop and your phone, and maybe your home computer as well. And that's what LastPass will offer you. You can add it as an extension in your browser, which is probably the easiest way of doing it. And then you have the app on your phone. And then all you've got to do is open it up. You just copy the password. And say you've changed it on your machine at work. As soon as you then go to your, I don't know, let's say your Facebook on your phone, you just go to it and it's already updated. So you just copy and paste it in when it says, oh, your password's changed. And it's so easy. And once you've done it for the first time, you won't have to do it again. And if you've got two-factor authentication on it as well, if someone else is trying to get in somewhere around the world, they won't be able to, because it's only your devices that are able to get in to that account. So it will just stop it, even if they've got your dogsname.1 as your password.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
So, Jake, I was going to say, I've been as most of us are, as we get older, we find that our parents pass. I unfortunately lost my husband 5 years ago, but the problem then is passwords, and they've obviously gone no password access. Yet you need to clear a lot of records up. And therefore it is that reverse side of things of trying to access, or where should one store things?
It's a great question. You know what they've thought about this? They didn't think about it originally because this happened, and someone whose partner died, they couldn't get into their account. So they went to, I think it was LastPass even that came up with it first. And they said, okay, there's a simple way around. What we'll do, we'll add one person as your, what would you call it? Someone that can access it once you've died. And what they'll do is they'll email you and that person once it's been accessed. And so if you haven't died, you could say, no, say, for example, I don't know, it's a partner that you then split up from. You don't want them to say, oh, they've died, and then you get all of their passwords. Of course, that could happen. So they have to have a get around. And that means both of you get emailed. And if you both agree on it, if the other one doesn't then get into it because that person has died, a week later, you're then released all the passwords to get into those accounts. So there is that fail safe. It takes 7 days, and it's far, far safer than any other way. If, for example, you've got elderly parents who really can't get on with technology, but they are really thinking about those passwords, if they're going to be needed, especially banking or whatever later on, then I would recommend they just write them down and keep it in a safe place at their home, and maybe only you know about it. But as long as they don't take that piece of paper out with them, I do hear of people having password books and they write them down. That's okay, as long as it stays somewhere very safe at home. As soon as you put it in your handbag or your back pocket, and then you walk around with it, it gets stolen, well, then you lose access to absolutely everything. So it's about thinking about how people can get in, but there is a digital version of it, and LastPass, they're the winners there.
Thank you, Jake. And I have one more.
Okay, go on.
No, by all means, yeah.
So we all find that our technology moves on, and
Yeah.
we all have mobile devices that we say, actually, no, we want to go and move up from our 6 up to a 12, whichever version, not
Yeah,
necessarily
good.
by Apple. Obviously you can take out the SIM card and you can, cut that up into little bits so they can't access that. But obviously our phones store data, like our laptops store data. There again, you can take out the drives, but on smartphones, which are now sealed devices, is the only option to smash the thing to bits.
No, great question. I like your question. Okay, so yeah, anything that's got a hard drive, a physical hard drive, so in a laptop, in your desktop, never ever go and sell that. That needs to be shot. You can drill through it. You can smash it up, and even so, I would smash it up and still keep it. There's something. There is a way of getting data back from those drives. Or you can get some software to overwrite it a few times with zeros and ones and just completely go over it. But still, I would probably never go and throw them away. And then you sell the rest of the laptop. Now, phones, yeah, like you said, they're sealed. But the amazing thing, especially with Apple phones, when they say, do you want to erase the data? It's actually erasing all the data. It's not just deleting it, it's wiping, it's going over it. Like I say about zeros and ones. So everything digital is made up out of zeros and ones. It just goes and writes zeros over everything, okay? And so I've got software that can get deleted data back. I've tried so many times with phones to get that deleted data back, and it's not there. It's just completely free space. And so if you go and set back, erase and go back to restore network settings and phone settings, then great, go and sell it. Go put it on eBay and make £100. Definitely.
And a caveat to that one, sorry, is what happens if it's gone through the washing machine and is saying it's dead? Is it really dead?
It's obviously from personal experience.
Yeah, this is personal experience. Do you know what? I don't think you'd sell that very easily anyway. You might get parts, but I wouldn't trust that, because if someone were to take it apart and it's just maybe the screen doesn't work, but there's a hard drive in there, the solid state drive in there is actually intact, as you haven't gone and erased it, I wouldn't go and sell that. So that's just a misfortune, really. But yeah, try and erase it before you go and wash it first.
Can I ask a little question here? Jake, are you one of these people on Facebook, when you see these social engineering kind of posts, do you comment?
Am I one of these people that what, sorry?
When you see the posts on Facebook that are designed to get all that social information,
yeah.
Are you the one that comments, don't do this quiz?
Yeah, do you know what? I used to post them when I was in the police on our social media feed saying, what's your unicorn name? It's the your mother's maiden name and your month of birth and all this stuff. Yeah, they are out there to try and get as much information. You don't see them as much these days, but there are other ways to find that information. They've just got cleverer, and they use bots a lot of the time to just carve the information out. It's already out there though. So if you go on the dark web, you can purchase information about anyone really easily, all your compromised passwords, where you live, everything. It's pretty scary. So I know we can't go and delete ourselves on the internet. We can't delete our mother's maiden name from history. We just can't do it. You just got to be aware that someone could use that to exploit us, and therefore we just have to have our wits about us.
Do we have kind of one final question? Sally, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say it's been really interesting to hear that, Jake. Incredibly scary as well. I remember working for a global company, and we actually had a cyber attack in Russia, and it was quickly everyone's screens went red. It was under your desk. It was that kind of scary and bad. Like, turn everything off, don't open your laptop. But it is crazy how hackers can be so remote and far away, but they can really eat and destroy a system.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of goes to show that, everyone needs to plan for a backup, like worst case scenario, because all that data, we had to take orders by hand and payments by hand. It was so often we weren't ready for it. So that was really interesting. And I've recently had a phishing email come through, which was very clever, asking for my WhatsApp number, looking like somebody I work
That's
with.
it.
Yeah. And somebody else sort of said to me, oh, you need to kind of look out for any like Gmail ending address. That's a giveaway. But for me, I wouldn't know that. Is that quite a common?
I wouldn't say Gmail specifically, because they might just change their tactics and use Yahoo next time, or just make up any email address. But it's interesting that you say about giving away the code that's sent to you on your WhatsApp. I did a blog last year exactly on this, how to hack anyone's WhatsApp, and it still is possible. So you can add two-factor authentication to your WhatsApp. If I'm nearby you, I could even see that code come up on your phone, and within 5 seconds, I could hijack your WhatsApp and you'll never get it back. And this is something that is really scary. I thought after COVID, well, after the lockdowns, they would have got rid of that, because we're now mixing again with people. It's still available. But I like what you said about backup. I didn't mention that, so thank you. Yeah, the amount of companies that don't properly create backups and then don't properly test the restore function, that's really important. So if you are hit with ransomware, you might think, it's okay, we'll just go to the backup, and you go and restore it, but it doesn't work. And then you're thinking, we're going to have to pay the ransom, which could be anything, 500,000, 1 million, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was like a huge amount of Bitcoin. Somebody literally just clicked on the wrong button and it just wiped. We were out. I'd say 2 months or so we were out of action.
Wow.
It did get it's like stressful to say we survived a cyber attack 2017.
Yeah, I don't think I could use a pen for a day, let alone 2 months.
It was awful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to kind of call it a day there. Very aware of the time that people probably have 11 o'clock meetings booked in as well. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for joining us today. Susie and Sharon, Stroke College, for sponsoring the event. Thank you so much. And Jake, thank you for terrifying us. And
anytime.
Yeah, well, now we're going to go delete the About Us page on our website and get rid of our dog's name off our website as well. But thank you. It's been really interesting. Can I ask, where would we find your blog posts? Are we okay to share the link in the
the one on Thursday is coming out on my LinkedIn. So yeah, contact me through LinkedIn. But we have a blog site called welivesecurity.com. We Live Security. Sometimes they're quite technical though. Sometimes they can be a bit boring. I like to try and do the fun ones, like how can I hack your social media? So yeah, just follow me on LinkedIn. You'll see them all.
Thank you very much, Jake.